TVH, just wanted to ask you if you thought Todoroki was a little bit too OP. Appreciate you taking the time, and peace.
All right. My man Sweaty, he's probably sweating while he asks this question. Does Todoroki be heating shit up? He has his Todoroki overpowered in My Hero Academia. If you're unfamiliar with Todoroki, he is the son of the #2 ranked hero in the world, who's one of my favorite characters in the show. Endeavor. You just gotta watch the show, bro. That thing is funny. But what's the name? Todoroki is stronger than Endeavor because he has the ability to create flames. I think with his left, and then ice with his right. It might be the other way around. Basically, he's a walking icy hot condom, bro. This nigga can shoot fire and he can shoot ice. So he's probably wondering, like, do you feel like he's an overpowered character? And the short answer is no. And here's why. Like, people, what? Todoroki comes across as overpowered in my opinion, because you gotta remember that the show takes place in high school. It's called My Hero Academia. They go to UA high school, and all of them are like 14, 15 years old. So, and Todoroki has the ability to control 2 elements. This nigga's half an avatar, goddammit. But the problem is, you got to keep in mind, like I said, this is high school, so he comes across as OP. But if you actually pay attention to the show, second, third season, Todoroki be getting his ass beat against people. Like when they fought Stain, he didn't do shit. He held him off, but he didn't really do shit. I think he fought one of the teachers or whatever. He didn't do shit. In one of the latest training episodes, episode 3, like one of the teachers even exposed him. He said, like, you just rely too much on trying to overpower people. Like, Todoroki has a lot of, he's the quintessential archetype, all talent, no work ethic. I'm not saying he has zero work ethic, but he was born with so much raw power that does something to a person mentally, where they also just come across as powerful. So I don't think he's OP. I think he comes across as OP is because they're in high school and most of the people are still learning their abilities, and he's just advancing a little bit faster than everybody else. You gotta keep in mind, Todoroki is what, number 1 or 2 ranked in the class between him and like Kai-chan. And when he's competing against his fellow classmates, he looks OP. And that's because he's just like, Todoroki is basically the valedictorian. But when he goes against the real shooters in the show, he didn't really do nothing. Like, he still has a long way to go. And it's like the teacher said, you rely too much on raw talent versus actually thinking like what made. I remember me and Black had this conversation, season 2. What made Endeavor dope when they first introduced him is, if you know anything about Endeavor basically has the power of control over flame. He has flames all over his body. A very simple superpower, a very simple superpower. He can shoot flames from his body and shit. The reason he came across as like, it was like one episode I was like, I can understand why he's number ranked 2. He's very creative with his powers. Basically, there was like one scene where he went to go rescue somebody and he ran across the wall, across the building, by melting his feet into the building. It's like that type of creativity. Like, I wouldn't have thought of that personally, like, but I'm like, oh, that's dope. Like, I understand why he's the number 2 ranked hero. And that's kind of like what they're actually trying to teach them in season 3 right now, with the whole trying to create their own new special moves and shit like that. They're trying to show them that raw talent isn't enough. You're gonna have to get creative with your abilities. You're gonna have to have special moves. You're gonna have to think outside the box. Like when Barry Allen fucking like runs through objects and shit like that with his speed, that's like thinking outside the box. Like a simple motherfucker would just think to just run straight and be super fast. This motherfucker's running through buildings. You see what I'm saying? So I don't think Todoroki is OP, because right now his thinking is very simple. I think he has the potential to become overpowered, and that's something we can see maybe towards the end of the show. That's something I talked about like earlier. And one thing I got out of the comment section of my video from last week, or podcast from last week, a lot of y'all didn't realize that the show is being turned. It's basically like the show is basically being told from a retrospective. Like it's Deku basically talking about the past and how he became the number 1 hero. So maybe at the end of the show, Todoroki could be overpowered. We don't know. Like, we don't know because you don't know what things could happen in his life. Something can make him fall off. Maybe his dad dies and he becomes depressed and he just stops fighting. You don't know. Something could happen to him in the show and make him totally fall off. I think what Todoroki is like, if I can compare it to basketball, Todoroki is an all-American. He's an all-American McDonald's player. If you follow the NBA or just basketball in general, all-American NBA players in high school are the best. It's basically like the top 50 high school players in the nation. They play in a game, like a exhibition game against each other, and it shows on ESPN every year. And there's so many players at the McDonald's All-American game that never make it to the NBA. They don't do shit in college, and they don't even make it to the NBA. So what we're seeing right now is I think he's an All-American McDonald's player. He's one of the best in his class, one of the best in high school, because they're literally in high school. So that's a really good comparison. Shout out to me. But when Todoroki goes to college or he goes to the league, when he becomes a hero, he might not be shit. We don't know until story plays out. I mean, think about all the NBA players that went from fucking high school or college to the league and wasn't shit. Kwame Brown. For every LeBron James, there's a Kwame Brown, goddammit. And for all we know, we don't know. Todoroki could be Kwame Brown, or he could be LeBron James. Time will only tell. Let's see how the show plays out. All right, let's see. The next question. The next question is coming from Jaren. I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he wants to talk a little bit about that Dragon Ball Super. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you'll never miss another video. Also, consider pledging my Patreon. It helps keep the lights on. There's a link in the description box below. Peace.